Hello, Chris Green here with the Flood Insurance Guru. Today we're talking about lake life. Are you paying for it on flood insurance premiums? We're going to talk about a few different things today. First of all, we want to talk about where your house is located on that parcel. Is it right here on the water? Or is it up there on the hill? And are you really being charged the correct flood insurance premium for it? So that's one of the major things we want to talk about. We also want to talk about primary residence versus secondary. Are you being penalized for that? Do you have multiple structures on your property? Are you being penalized for that on your flood insurance? Are you paying more for that? Then we want to talk about what are the flood insurance options in these lake areas and what may disqualify you for each one of these options. We're going to talk about all that today. Remember, if you've got questions, you can always visit our website, floodinsuranceguru.com, where we got this free education resources on flood for you. So let's talk about this a little bit. First of all, we've already talked about where your house might be located. Now let's talk about primary versus secondary. Most people are not even aware of it because they don't pay attention, but if you have a national flood insurance program, remember, that's the program through FEMA or through the federal government for your flood insurance. If you have a lake house that's not your primary house, you're being charged a $250 surcharge every year. Now, let's say you have multiple structures on your property. Your bank's requiring you to insure separately. You're paying $250 on those more than likely as well, because those are non-residential buildings. They're not your primary residence. So, now if it's a primary residence, remember, you gotta live in it at least 50% of the year in order for it to be primary. So this is where the National Flood Insurance Program hits you. We're gonna talk about another option you do have here once we get into flood insurance options in this video, which we briefly wanna talk about. As we mentioned, we've got the National Flood Insurance Program and we've got private flood insurance. So what's the difference between these two on these lake areas? Well, the big difference is the National Flood Insurance Program is backed by FEMA or the government. Private flood insurance is backed by private insurance companies who can pick and choose really what they want. A minute ago we talked about the surcharges with primary residential and secondary residential. Well, when it comes to private flood, generally, private companies do not charge you that $250 surcharge if you have a primary or secondary. The other thing they're not doing is also, charging it on the other structures. What you may do is, say you have a bank that's requiring you to keep flood insurance on 5 structures on your property. If you've got a National Flood Insurance Program, you've more than likely got 5 separate policies. You're paying that $250 surcharge. Well, if you have a private policy, you might be able to list all of these on that private policy. So these is kind of how the options are a little bit different. The other thing is, lake homes are not cheap at all. And the National Flood Insurance Program only offers coverages up to $250,000. So this is where private flood on lake homes can be very beneficial for you, because you could get up to $1 million, $2 million if you need to. What if you're using your lake house as a commercial property? What if you're renting it out and it floods? You need that loss of income. That's something else that private flood insurance offers as well on lake homes. So those are some of the differences when it comes to temporary living expenses, business loss of use. Those are some benefits of private over the National Flood Insurance Program. So what might disqualify you for some of these programs? Well, let's talk about loan types first when it comes to these lake houses. If you've got an FHA loan on a lake house, now that may be kind of rare, but if you do, then you are going to be required to go through the National Flood Insurance Program. But if you've got a conventional, if you've got a USDA, a VA, or other traditional loan, you should be able to go through the private market for your flood insurance. So, does everybody qualify for the National Flood Insurance Program? Does everybody qualify for private flood? No. Let's talk about some quick disqualifications for the National Flood Insurance Program. Let's say this community doesn't participate in the National Flood Insurance Program, then you wouldn't qualify for it. Or if you've got a structure here that's built completely over water and was built after 1982 or substantially improved after 1982, it's not going to qualify for the National Flood Insurance Program. Or maybe you've got a house here that you built on your own and it's not within the guidelines of the floodplain management in a local area. That's another disqualification with the National Flood Insurance Program. So what about private flood? What could possibly disqualify you there? Well, we've talked about loan types, depending on if your bank will allow private flood. But some other things that may disqualify you is what's called a severity loss property. If you're on that list where your property's had 2 or 3 claims within a 10-year period of $1,000 or more, then you could be in trouble where private flood is not acceptable. private flood also might just not be available in your area with certain companies. But remember, just because you've been declined by one private company doesn't mean you'll be declined by another. So today we've talked about what are the flood insurance options on these lake homes. Do you qualify? Do you not? How are elevations impacting your flood insurance rates? We've talked about primary residence, secondary residence, the difference in the fees. So if you've got questions about lake houses, about maybe you're paying too much for flood insurance on your lake home, then please reach out to us. FloodInsuranceGuru.com. Go to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, The Flood Insurance Guru, where we do these daily flood education videos. You can also give us a call, 205-451-4294. Thank you.